Eddie. How are you?
Hello, I'm happy. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for joining this webinar today. I'm really pleased to have you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's a great honor and a great pleasure as well.
So, Eddie, before we jump into the conversation, could you tell us a little bit about what you do, please?
Yes, my current role is the actual title is Head of Technical Analysis and Senior Markets Analyst at ADM Investor Services International Limited. This is part of ADM or Archer Daniels Midland, one of the behemoths in commodities, primarily in the agricultural commodities, in grains and oil seeds and vegetable oils, etc. Primarily my role there is to look at charts, interpret what's been happening from the past, what's happening at the moment, and what may be interpreted into the future from those actions that's occurring now. That's my primary role. I'm also chairman of the UK Society of Technical Analysts, which is the oversight body for technical analysts in the UK. And I'm a director of the International Federation of Technical Analysts, which is like the United Nations of all the technical analysis societies in the world. Both those last two are not for profits, and I don't get paid for that one. But I'm happy to be involved in that. And I'm happy to I speak about something like 200 markets I cover on a regular basis.
That's very impressive.
Thank you.
So, what is your day-to-day job? What do you do on a daily basis?
Okay, so I cover a number of areas. Every day I look and cover about six foreign exchange markets, gold bullion, and Brent crude oil. That's a day, unless I'm in something involved like something like this, then I'll be making a report on that. And I issue that. It's regarded as market color and information rather than advice under the UK regulator, the FCA. So I'm happy to talk about things, but I don't give whether you should buy or sell. I just describe the market and what the patterns are doing in that. On Mondays, I cover sugar and coffee, which went out yesterday. Today, this afternoon, I'll be covering the metals, London Metal Exchange metals, which is copper, aluminium, lead, zinc, nickel, and tin. And Wednesdays is when I do a joint podcast with my colleagues in the States, and I pick on anything I find interesting. And that's going to be anything from shipping indices through to bullion, through to soybeans, through to currencies or fixed income. Thursdays is vegetable oils and oil seeds, soybean oil complex, and rapeseed, palm oil, and canola. And Fridays is grains and starches, which is primarily corn, and also I'll cover the wheat around the world in the UK, in Paris, in Chicago, in Kansas City, and Minneapolis. That covers basically what I do, and I speak at conferences and various other organizations as well.
This is how we've met a few times actually,
Yeah,
known
yes.
known each other. Can I ask you what inspired you to go into commodities?
It was by accident more than anything else because I had just finished school and I was looking for a job. This is back in 1980. And I was looking for a job, and in those days, you went with your CV to the employment agencies in the City of London. I had two rules I was going to stick for. One is my father was a baker and I didn't want to work with my hands. I wanted to work in an office. That was number one. Number two was I wanted to travel, but not pay for it. So I looked for a company that helped me do that. That was my basic rules. And I went around companies handing in my CV. And I got a call from one of them saying, there's a job as a warrants clerk, a London Metal Exchange warrants clerk, to calculate the rent, insurance. And those days, yeah, all done manually on warrants, pieces of paper we actually received. And I said, as a metal broker, I said, what's a metal broker? And they said, well, it's like a stockbroker, but they trade metal. And that's how I got involved in commodities. And I'm very glad I did. Very glad.
And so how has your job evolved? from being
Well,
a metals broker to where you are at the moment?
well, the job evolved in a way that it started as I worked in the back office of a number of companies, and I learned how to do the operations primarily in metals. And I saw the traders, and I thought, I want to do that. I want to do what they're doing. And I waited for somebody to give me the opportunity, and I got the opportunity at a bullion house to do that, to go onto the trading desk and become a junior bullion dealer. And I realized then, when a discussion with actually a headhunter, they said, you either got to be the best ever bullion dealer in the whole world, or you've got to be somebody that's the best about everything, good at everything. And I thought the latter is more the way I would like to do it. So I started to learn other things. I went from bullion through to general futures desk. So I covered all sorts of commodities and other financial futures as well. I carried on there and I went to cover night shift at a brokerage I worked at, because I thought that would be good for my personal benefit and also for my CV in the future, to learn how to use the Asian markets. And I was actually one of the places I was actually as a futures broker. The boss of my desk, who's passed away now, Eddie Edwards, Keith Edwards as he was known, but Eddie Edwards is his nickname. He was fantastic. He was one of the best people, the best teachers I ever had. And he did technical analysis on paper. We had big scrolls of paper, pens we were using and things like that, and very sharp propelling pencils with special paper. And I asked him one time, why are you doing that? He said, one day you will become slow. I will become slow, he said, as a broker or as a trader. And I will need something else to do. And I thought that's a very decent piece of advice. And so Trevor Neal, who's a very famous technical analyst, I got to meet him. And he said, you should join this organization called ACTA, which became the Society of Technical Analysts, because one day it will become more regulated, and a membership of that will be actually useful in your career. And so I started doing technical analysis. And then I started working for other people as on their trading desks. And in 1991, I set up my own. And it was originally metals and foreign exchange I
Okay.
was bringing in. And I grew that for 27 years. What is now ADM Investor Services. I worked as the head of foreign exchange and also an account executive for commodities. And I brought in commodity business there. A lot of, and towards the end of it, a lot of it was sugar and coffee and metals primarily. A little bit of energy, but mainly those ones. And that grew until I got thoroughly bored of running a trading desk.
Mhm.
You've done it for 27 years, you sort of like think, oh, it must be better to this than getting over every morning and doing the same thing again. Luckily at the time, my boss said, you're pretty good at technical analysis. We've got shortages in our analysis people. How about you set up a technical analysis unit and you can cover any market that you want? Okay, I'll do that. And so in 2018, so that's now 7 years ago, I set up a technical analysis unit, and it's been growing from ever since from there. And the main difference is I used to write reports on Word and then on PDFs. Now my analysis is on videos. I actually don't remember the last time I actually written a full written report on anything, because it's easier to talk on a video with a chart behind you
Yeah.
than it is
Yeah.
in a written format. And this came about because one of my customers in Chicago was going into work, and he said, listen, Eddie, I love your stuff. I haven't got the time to read it. Can you make something that I can listen to when I'm driving into the office? And I initially tried it with a SoundCloud podcast, but then I realized that by making videos, I could make it sound so somebody can listen whilst they're driving. And if they want to, they can watch it later on the screen.
Absolutely. That's quite amazing. Could you tell us a little bit about your challenges in your day-to-day role?
I think the issue is that I have Um, you have to have a certain assumption that you know a certain bit about technical analysis to actually understand what I'm talking about. Because in many ways, it's not one of those sort of YouTube videos you find where they start, oh, it's really easy, whatever it is. I go into it in greater depth and explain patterns and what's occurring. And sometimes I have to accept a certain level of understanding that's coming across from my audience.
Hmm.
It can be dry, but I try not to be because I actually am very, very passionate about this. The question sometimes is, so many people look at you and go, but when you point out things in technical analysis and say certain things will happen on certain days, and it happens, and they look at you like you're a witch doctor, and they should be tying you up on a stake and burning you because you're a witch, and all you do is you're saying this technical analysis is older than anything in the F word, the fundamental side. I
Hmm.
mean, the first book on trading ever written, which I've got an English copy, it's in the office actually at the moment, is Muneshi Holma's book, The Fountain of Gold, the Three Monkey Record of Money. It's still a valid trading book. Um,
No way.
and
When was it written? Do you know when?
it was printed in 1755. And this is stuff he'd done up till then. I mean, this guy is fantastic. There are certain people you look at trading and you realize they were so far ahead of their time. He had a series, he was incredibly, he's about the equivalent of about $3 to $4 billion in modern money as a trader. He was a rice trader, and Osaka against the other market, which I can't remember the name of. And his stories of how you should behave in trading are still valid now. The things he organized the equivalent in those times in 1750s, the equivalent of high frequency trading. He had a series of riders on fast horses who transmitted prices on very thin rice paper. They would ride a horse really fast for 4 or 5 miles, hand it to the next guy, hand it to the next guy. He had price indications of different markets and arbitraged them before anybody else. He was incredibly clever at what he did. And he came up with what is called candlestick trading. We still use candlesticks now. Anytime you see a red or a green bar on a chart or a black and a white one, the little, those are candlestick trading. And he came up with that in the 1750s and it's
That's
still used
amazing.
today.
That's
Absolutely
absolutely.
true. The only other book I would ever suggest anybody ever reads on trading, and it is really, really worth it, is Reminiscence of a Stock Operator by
Mhm.
Lefebvre. And that's the story of Jesse Livermore, the big short in 1929 and the crash of 29. In those 2 weeks, he made the equivalent of, I think it was $100 million back then.
Wow.
In 2 weeks' time, he made a huge amount of money. Yeah, I mean, it was a sad story about him in the end, but he lost and made, I think it was 5 or 7 fortunes. And on technical analysis, the book I always go for is John J. Murphy's Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets. It's a basic primer into everything you need to know about technical analysis. So those things have inspired me and kept me going. Is every so often I'll reread them, I'll go through them and say, what was it I was thinking then? Yeah, and Homer's book, the English translation I've got to say in the office, is I just read through it and I went, this is still valid now. This is absolutely still valid.
That's
Uh,
amazing. That's
it is
absolutely.
it's the oldest book I know on trade. I think it is recognized as the oldest book on trading.
Thanks for the recommendations of books. What about recommending the industry and your particular position? Is this something, why would people want to join our industry and why would people want to go into technical analysis?
Okay. Commodity trading itself is it's the oldest form of trading really out there. Before all the financial markets that you see out there. First off, you need to know to get into trading. Why would you do it? If you're looking to make a lot of money, then not necessarily so. But if you're looking for a satisfying career, to be part of something that's important and valuable. I heard a story of another trader. The very first trade he ever did was a shipment of 5,000 tons of, I think it was feed meal from a port in England to Ireland. And he'd made £5,000 on it on that trade. And he still remembers it now. Still remembers. It's a satisfying way to get involved in your everyday world. And it's everything that's involved. Everything we do is involved in commodity trading. You know, everything you touch and breathe has at some point been involved, or drink or consume has been involved in commodity trading. You know, the saying of ADMs that something you eat from ADM is processed by us at least once a day. You'll eat or consume something that ADM have been involved in, and that's the same for everything they're involved. It's core to what we should be doing. The financial markets may get the sexy things, but it's ephemera. It's not real. We're actually involved in the real trade of what's going on in the world. And it's immensely satisfying to be involved in, whether it's metals, whether it's energy, whether it's grains, whether it's the soft commodities. You know, you're really involved in something, and I would suggest that. And technical analysis is the best way of capturing what's going on in that market to me. I can look at a chart and immediately I'll understand the vibration of what's going on in that market.
Amazing.
If I get it wrong, it's because I haven't seen it soon enough, what's happening. Only in hindsight, that's what happens, is if I don't see something in technical analysis, it's because I didn't see it. And it's not because it's wrong. Markets move according to technical analysis, and I sincerely believe that. And it's an essential element. And we were talking about this off camera just beforehand. You know, what are the essential elements for a trader? And I would say, in anybody involved in, say, the agricultural side, you look at technical analysis, you look at seasonality, and then you look at the F word, the fundamentals. Because those other two are the most important areas that cover, and it's in everything. Seasonality is in everything as well. The use of AI has allowed us now, and computing power overall has allowed us to look at more markets in a better way. When I first started, I looked at 20 markets because that's all we used to do on paper. Now I cover about 200, and I'm looking at 200 charts on a weekly basis, and I'm happy doing that because I can get it bang. I can look at it straight away and say, that's what I can see.
And actually, what's the impact of AI on your role or on the trading in general?
Well, I'm happy to say very little, because what I do is a non-linear function. I am not doing something in a orderly manner and then repeating it.
Yeah.
I'm interpreting something. I'm not just literally doing a straightforward translation. I'm looking at it and saying that action there presents that pattern. Those lines crossing over there present an opportunity for volatility. That is potentially where the top of the market is because of that pattern. There's a movement to that level or a movement down to that level. And I think that's where I think AI is not going to be up to. I don't think in my lifetime be able to do that. You can use it to make your life easier. And I would love if somebody could write me a pattern to show me the weekly key reversals on the markets, because I have to do that manually every Sunday, go through about 200 charts and look at them. And it takes me a couple of hours to do that properly. But it's a tool that can be added to make life simpler. As I say, I started looking at 20 markets. Now I cover 200. With the help of modern computing technology and AI, I'll be able maybe to look at 400, 500, 1,000 maybe easily by just putting in what I want my agentic AI to do for me. But I'm the guy who still tells it what to do because it doesn't know it enough to be able to spot what I see.
Thank you. Super interesting. before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you if you have any advice for anyone out there, either wanting to join the commodities industry or already in the industry, and yeah, if you have general advice.
Yeah. I would say, firstly, if you're looking to get involved in commodities and it's an area that's quite large, look for trade organizations that are involved in it. Not-for-profit organizations such as the Society of Technical Analysts, WISTA, the Women in Shipping and Trading. Look and join those organizations, because that's where you'll network and meet people and be able to build contacts which will supply you in the future. That's the very first thing, is to look for those and join those organizations. Don't be afraid of being pushed back, because there is a whole world out there that's absolutely bringing with opportunities for you. The other thing I would suggest is look to get accreditation, accredited exams. The Society of Technical Analysts provide an exam, the 2 diplomas, which give you full membership of the STA, and other societies do that, and other organizations do that. So get to know the organizations that you are in the industry. Get to know the non-profit organizations that are involved in the industry. Join them where you can and become part of them, so that you can network. And by the networking is how you will progress your career.
That's something I strongly believe in too, and I know you know that.
Yeah.
Last question. What is the number one skill needed to be successful in our industry?
Number one skill. I think it's a combination of patience and a steady nerve. When defeat looms you in the face, you just go and you just carry on.
Wow.
Because there are times when you will have losses and you'll be discouraged. I keep thinking about the poem by Kipling called If. Have dreams, but don't make dreams your master. In the same way, look at when you're pushed back in the same way. Don't let dreams be your master, and don't let discouragement be your master. And have patience.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Eddie, for those very wise words. Thanks for joining today's webinar. It was really nice having you, and yeah, an immense pleasure and honor to have you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mathilde.
Thanks.